Behind the cape. All right. So, obviously we got to talk about Sinners once again. It seems to be the hot topic in TV film right now. Week 2 didn't drop that much. 6%, probably one of the lowest drops.
No. That much is not doing it justice. 6% drop from week 1 to week 2. This film between the week lead up, right? So Monday through Friday and then the weekend made $100 million worldwide. Now they had an extra day last week on the weekend and it made $61 million. To come out $100 million on the second week is incredibly strong. It's incredibly strong. In terms of the fiscal numbers, it is so impressive that, again, I have to keep reminding people, Warner Brothers did not do this film any justice. Didn't do it any justice. I don't know if it's because of the proximity to Minecraft. I don't know if it's because of, the back end points for Ryan Coogler's deal. I don't know what they were thinking, but just to give y'all an example, the Revenge of the Sith 20-year anniversary re-release, they put that, Disney did, in 3,700 theaters. 3,700 sites, right? That is 300 more, about 300 more sites than what Warner Brothers put Sinners in. And still the movie is performing the way it is. Guys, they're projecting it to be a $300 million windfall for Sinners when it's all said and done. I don't know. We'll see. The next couple of weeks are going to be pretty tough, even given the word of mouth and the good start that it's gotten off to because of Lilo and Stitch, Thunderbolts,
Mission
Impossible. So, those are newer movies coming out as opposed to the 4th or 5th week of Sinners.
Jurassic Park.
But even still, this movie would have maximized even more in these first 2 weeks had Warner Brothers put it in the requisite amount of theaters, deserving of a feature film.
Agreed.
They literally cut some of the momentum off of this film, and it's still performing as it is. A 6% drop. I don't think people understand how unheard of that is. It literally doesn't happen for any genre, let alone an R-rated thriller.
That word of mouth been good.
They're pretty good.
But I told you the reason why they didn't put as much into it. David Zaslav wanted his bonus money. He wouldn't share none of that with
I feel like the bonus
Sinners.
would have been even higher if they make $1 billion, but
yeah,
it is what
facts.
it is.
Facts.
Now, all that being said, it's making a lot of money. I had the pleasure of seeing it last night.
I saw it this morning.
So look, it's not a bad film. Number one,
Are you about to review it? You just about to go right to shit?
No, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna give about as much as I gave in the out of theater. That'll be up this afternoon or this evening sometime. But it's not a bad film. At the same time, there are things in this film that come up in every Ryan Coogler film, and I always ask myself why that needs to be there. Why that's the vehicle through which we have to deliver this message. Why things have to end in this type of light. And that is not outside of this movie. That's not outside of Sinners. That trope of Ryan Coogler does not escape this film. And I have to keep asking myself over and over again, like, yo, why? Why do we need to go there? Why is that the type of representation that you want America to see us through? You know what I mean? That's more of a personal thing for me, I think. I don't think that people see it that way. I think it's kind of like my Tyler Perry flick. I don't think that Tyler Perry writes the type of movies that he writes necessarily for black people. I think it's black content that's digestible by white people. And while every bit of this movie isn't that, right? There are large segments of it that are completely the antithesis of that. There are just certain character decisions that kind of got shoehorned into the narrative. And it's like, why did that even need to be there? I just don't understand why it even needed to be there. Also, the third act of this movie is a mess. It is an absolute mess. There are unexplained character moves. Let's just say that. there are unexplained character decisions that somehow get corrected almost instantaneously because plot. There are character sacrifices that don't make a lick of sense whatsoever.
I think you're giving a lot now.
No, I'm not. People obviously know someone's going to die. Obviously, you know people are going to die. Now, how many people? Listen. There were things I enjoyed about the film. There are things I didn't enjoy. I think overall I don't think I gave it a number rating last night. I would say about a 7. I would say about a 7. It's an above average film slightly. It has its flaws though. It has its flaws. And what's concerning to me is that some of the communications that I was getting out from this film would have led me to believe that some of the tropes I had problems with wouldn't have been in here. Some of the things that some of the reviewer community said about Sinners had me thinking we were going in a completely different direction with these characters. And that there was a possibility for all involved to continue on. And it seems like Ryan Coogler's muse is going to be Ryan Coogler's muse, and that's who has a chance to continue on in this franchise. Everybody else, well, I hope you enjoyed Sinners.
You got to see the review to get my thoughts.
Yeah.
All right. Sydney Sweeney, of course, America's darling
right now.
Right now.
What up, Blue?
She is being cast in a movie for a video game that has been a hit this year called Split Fiction. Why they're making a movie off of a video game this quickly, I don't know. I have no idea. You know what I just realized?
What's up?
The trailer for the Weekend movie came out on this too, on Sinners when I saw it.
That vague ass review. You don't want me to give the whole kit and caboodle away.
You gotta watch the review when we actually give the review, and some of y'all might get it early.
Mary should have been played by a light-skinned black woman. 1,000% Polo Boy. That was the one thing I will tell you, flat and plain. Every person who hyped up Haley Stanfield's black scent, y'all must love Awkwafina. Must love her. Must love Awkwafina. And it's venturing into the point of offense for me that when somebody tell y'all, oh yeah, you know, my grandfather was biracial, all of a sudden now we start pushing towards, you know, oh well, that person's black. Y'all. Anyways, I'll leave Haley Stanfield alone. I know that was a point that they played up for the movie. If y'all liked that, then y'all shouldn't have had any problem with Awkwafina. It's kind of how I feel about it.
I didn't have a problem with Awkwafina.
Okay.
In Black Mirror.
Yeah, no, because she sounds like how she talks normally in Black Mirror. It was no more of that.
No, there wasn't any of that.
Tony Gilroy on why there isn't more Vader and Andor. You know, because I mean he was a pretty big part of Rogue One. He's obviously a big part of the Empire at the time. Tony Gilroy says that writing Vader isn't fun. It's not vibes, bro. Right? Writing Vader isn't vibes. Writing Vader is really limiting. I've done it. He doesn't have much to say.
That's an exact quote.
That's an exact quote. Well, the first part of it is not, but the last part is.
Writing Vader isn't vibes is crazy.
Writing Vader is limiting.
That's still
He's
crazy.
done it. He doesn't have much to say. I don't know what Star Wars Tony Gilroy is talking about, but in the original trilogy, some of Vader's monologues were some of the best points in the movie. As he's explaining how he's going to hunt down Luke or Obi-Wan, you know, tracing their steps, talking about how he's going to lay down the traps for them. Like, I don't know what the fuck Tony Gilroy's talking about. And there's no, I guess I understand now why season 2 of Andor is kind of taking it into dumps, even outside of the grape scene. You know, they not only talk about it, but they actually show it. Like, they show the attempt.
That's insane.
Hey, yo, like, And I've heard people, kind of try to massage it. Oh, well, there are dastardly figures all over, and they've been trying to tell you for years. They've just been using allegories and metaphors. And I'm like, okay, cool. And you know what? You would even have halfway of an argument if they'd only mentioned it, right? Where you simply do not have an argument is showing an overtly violent sexual act happening in a Star Wars show. Again, we haven't even shown these people having sex. How we leapfrog overt sexual acts to overt violent sexual acts, there's no reasoning for that.
It doesn't make sense.
At all. Even if you take the standpoint of, oh, you're just pearl clutching, you trying to gatekeep grape talk, which is weird, which is just weird energy for me. Even if that's the way you're going about it, oh, well, they've always kind of dabbled in these things. They just use allegories and metaphors. They have never shown sex in Star Wars. To leapfrog sex and go straight to sexual violence, that's dissonance. You off your square. You just doing stuff to do stuff.
They're doing it for the clout.
Just doing stuff to do stuff now.
They're doing it to get people talking.
Yeah, I think Tony Gilroy needs to find another studio. That's what I would suggest. But
nothing wrong with that.
That's just me.
You seem to be here for the Hayden Christensen and Samuel L. Jackson
appearance. Hey man, there seems to be a different tenor over Lucasfilm right now. Certainly a different tenor over Lucasfilm right now, because guys don't get highlighted, much less the guys of the old guard. Vader and Mace Windu. There's just not. If you walking into an office saying Rey is our most valuable character, you don't give a shit about Mace Windu or Anakin. So to see those guys being highlighted, being part of a marketing push, it seems like, around the Vader character at the moment. Hayden Christensen obviously going to show up in Ahsoka season 2. Been talking a lot, showing up at celebrations, showing up at cons. There honestly seems to be a different attitude, or at least a different focus. We can't say that that's the entire, that's who's running the studio at this point. Kathleen Kennedy's still in the building, but there definitely seems to be some split focus here. Whereas we weren't getting any of this 2 years ago. We weren't getting any of this even at the last Star Wars celebration. So
yeah, we were getting people not clapping for Kathleen Kennedy.
So at the 20th anniversary for the Revenge of the Sith, it's good to see them leaning on what was easily identifiable as two viably, at least in terms of, pressing the nostalgia button, two viable characters in Mace Windu and Anakin Skywalker. Because, again, if you thought that Rey was your most valuable character, then you deserve to fail. It just kind of is what it is. And it seems like there's people in that studio that want to keep their job. So we'll see what happens. See what comes of it.
For sure. All right, so last week we discussed...
I know plenty of married... No, you don't. Blue, you don't know plenty of phenotypically white women who have a 16th of black in them and split black sense. And if you do, you get a nice Heisman level distance.
I feel like it's some of them in Louisiana. It's not a 16th. It's a 4th or an 8th.
Yeah, okay. But there is a difference between mulatto women, right? Or just light-skinned black women. And that's why it should have been a light-skinned black woman playing her. But not in all intents and purposes, ethnically, culturally, and about 80% of her genetics, all white. All white. If you were trying to tell a story about mulattoes, then pick a black woman. A real black woman. She could even have the same skin tone as Haley Steinfeld if that was as important as what really needed. I personally think they just wanted Haley Steinfeld in the movie. So they made the shit work.
Sure.
But it's whatever. Working. But if that's the story, if that's what we go with, then pick a black woman. Pick a real black woman who just passes as white. Not Haley Stein. Her last name is Steinfeld. Come on, y'all. Come on, we got to stop being so impressed with every white person who got a little bit of rhythm. With every white person who can somewhat get along lingo-wise. We got to stop falling over frontwards for impressive white people.
I know why it's a white woman in that role, but you're just going to have to watch the review to see why I know. Last week we discussed Felicia from Friday wanting her TV series, spinoff of Friday into her TV series, which is fucking dumb. But this week, Miss Parker apparently wants to be in the new Friday movie, which I don't know how that's gonna look. I don't even know what Miss Parker looks like now, to be honest with you.
So here was her.
Is she still?
Here's the pitch.
I doubt it. It's been 30 years.
Here's the pitch. So she revealed that she actually pitched this idea to Ice Cube about bringing her back in the new Friday movie. She wants to still be married and had a child out of wedlock with Bernie Mac's character, Pastor Cleaver.
Well, that would make sense. Continuity.
So did Pastor Cleaver die?
I would assume in what she's telling.
And then why are we spending so much time on that? That would be something that annoys me. If we take time out of that
I'm not saying
for you to have this random son,
I'm saying it makes sense.
And then we got to sneak around and find out later in the movie that that's not really the midget from Bad Santa's son, but it's really Bernie Mac's son, and all sad because Bernie Mac's dead. Like, come on, man.
A little too much.
Yet another character we could have had in this movie, Chris Tucker, went out there bullshitting.
Sure.
And that was when New Line Cinema was actually giving them the go to make it.
Right. CEO of Netflix, Ted Sarandos, says that they are saving Hollywood because don't nobody want to go up to no movie theater. What is wrong with y'all? Y'all want to sit in the living room and watch these movies.
I understand why that type of talk benefits Netflix. I completely understand it. I get it. But buddy, you releasing movies in the theater too. You're leading the streaming market. You're leading in subscriber growth. You have absolutely no reason to let up on the gas and killing theaters if that's what you think you're doing. And yet, you're releasing movies that have $1 million budgets in the theaters, just like every other studio. So what are you talking about? Like, actually, what are you talking about? You can't do this thing at the scale you'd like to do it without movie theaters. I don't think that they can continue into the next century of content creation without streaming services. Y'all have to find a way to make it work. The streaming services tried to kill the theaters. Most of them are not better off because of it. The theaters tried to forsake the streaming services, and that's not really doable. They're going to have to find a way adjusting the theater window, right? How many days it sets in the theater versus coming to digital, which essentially you should start meshing streaming platforms and digital together. They should be one and the same now. But for him to say this and then still be putting some of his biggest investments on the film side in theaters, you can say that shit, but the money tells the truth. You still need theaters. You still need theaters. Movies need theaters to survive. If movies do not have theaters to rake in large box offices, to set up auxiliary markets to start making money off of merch and cruises and hotel stays and lunch boxes and soundtracks and all that other shit. If you don't have a theater market to set all of that shit up, well, then you're really not in the movie market anymore. You're in the short series market. You're in the TV show market.
But that's saying you can't sell any merch off of a movie that premieres on Netflix.
What's the example?
Just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean it can't be done.
Right, but we can at least say that they don't have any proof of concept in that regard.
Oh, sure.
And if you're making multi-million-dollar movies, which Netflix is, then you are. There's no other way to do that than putting them in the theaters. You are not going to recoup off a multi-million-dollar event. Gray Man, Red Notice, that fuck ass movie with Millie Bobby Brown, Like, how many examples do we need of large scale budget movies that only exclusively release on Netflix that bomb?
Harder They Fall.
No, I don't think that bombed, and I don't think that had a super high budget either. I'm talking the ones that they're spending north of $100 million on.
I'm just thinking,
and only putting on streaming services. Now they get smart from every now and again, and they have a dual release. They'll release them in the theaters so they can rake in some of that cash back, and then they will also release on Netflix.
Bird Box.
But even in that, what did Bird Box make? And what the fuck are you selling off of Bird Box?
Again, I'm just thinking of Netflix movies.
Blindfolds? You selling blindfolds?
I'd buy
blindfold merch going crazy off of Bird Box.
I would. Should be lit.
They got to choose a lane. They're either going to be making cheaper films for streaming only, or this shit that he talking about is bullshit, and we're going to continue to put films in the theaters, which is the more likely avenue. But streaming completely replacing the theaters only works if they get skinny, and they don't want to get skinny. So it is what it is.